Hey brothers and sisters, I came across this excellent article by Jonathan Bretner, so I wanted to read portions of the article to you because I think it's going to be a great encouragement, and he sees a lot of the same things that I see regarding tribulation shadows. With the day of the Lord looming on the horizon, the rapture of the church must be even closer, since the Bible assures us that we will miss the entirety of this coming period of God's wrath upon the earth. We will be in heaven with Jesus before the Antichrist appears on the world scene. The clamor of the New World Order on our doorstep. Revelation 6 verses 1 through 2 tells us about the first seal, the first rider. Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures saying with a loud voice like thunder, "Come and see." And behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he went out conquering and to conquer. These verses refer to the Antichrist, bringing the world together under his rule. The absence of an arrow in the bow points to his accomplishing this objective without force, although he will gather an impressive arsenal of weapons during his campaign. The World Economic Forum, under the leadership of Klaus Schwab, continues to gain incredible influence over the nations. Without firing a shot, Schwab has placed many of his devotees in key places of leadership in governments across the world. The communist influence of the World Economic Forum continues to rapidly grow in many free countries, including the US. The UN, in conjunction with the WEF, recently announced their intention to change their goal of a world government by 2030 under the 17 goals of its Agenda 2030. They want to establish the New World Order well before that year. The saber rattling of nuclear war. The second rider is that of war, as John describes in Revelation 6, 4 and 5. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that the people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. To say that the world has moved closer to a nuclear confrontation during the past 4 months is an understatement. I believe there will be a terrible world war after the rapture that will far exceed the worst wars in all of history. Revelation 6 verse 8 tells us that the sword or war will contribute to the deaths of 1/4 of the world's population. It's likely that nuclear weapons will account for this exceedingly high casualty count. Here are just some recent developments that tell us the wars of Revelation 6 are closer now than 4 months ago. The sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines in late September makes a major war in Europe all the more likely. Vladimir Putin believes that Joe Biden and the West are responsible, and he's looking to strike back. Putin is adding over 1 million new soldiers to his army. He has called up over 300,000 reserves and is drafting many new recruits, including those up to 50 years of age. People are fleeing Russia in droves. They understand the terrors of a likely nuclear war, and many also want to escape service in the Russian army. Russia recently annexed 4 territories in Ukraine, proclaiming that any attack on these is an attack on Russia. These are just a few of the multitude of signs that tell us a major war is brewing. If I were to add China, Iran, and North Korea to the mix, the above list would triple or quadruple. These are the days when I wonder if the United States will even survive as a nation until next September. I realize that the rapture does not need to happen before God severely judges America, but I believe the full extent of his wrath will fall on the U.S. soon after Jesus takes us home. The fiery red horse of war is ever so close to riding. This alone points to the soon fulfillment of the biblical event we call the rapture. Many voices predict economic devastation by early 2023. The words of Revelation 6, 5, and 6 point to economic devastation. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine." If you think the world is not on the brink of the conditions described in these verses, you are not paying attention. We are frightfully close. The destruction of the Nord Stream pipelines in late September spells disaster for the economies of Germany and the rest of Europe. Here is what economist commentator Michael Schneider wrote about inflation in Germany before the cutoff of gas from Russia. Quote, "This week we got some inflation numbers out of Germany that are so high that it's difficult to believe they are actually real. The most conservative estimates of the impact of the Nord Stream disaster state that tens of thousands of Europeans will die this winter because they will be unable to heat their homes. Prices of all commodities in Europe and North America will continue to rise sharply as energy prices skyrocket." The writer of death. The result of all these end of days horrors will be a death count higher than anything the world has seen since the Genesis 6 flood. Revelation 6, 7, and 8 describes what the world will experience when Jesus opens the 4th seal. When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature saying, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed him. And power was given to them over 1/4 of the earth to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. Right now, 1/4 of the world's population will be almost 2 billion people, and that marks just the start of the tribulation woes. Do we see this on the horizon of our world? Absolutely. The elitist globalists of our day are seeking to dramatically reduce the population of the world. Be assured that depopulation efforts, nuclear war, and famine all fit with the wicked and deadly agenda of both Klaus Schwab and his disciples around the world. The WEF and the UN's Agenda 2030 all have as their goal a new world order with the elites enslaving a greatly reduced population. Noah Harari, chief advisor to Schwab, believes that the majority of people are useless eaters. Please don't doubt the vile and evil agenda of the globalists that control many governments in our world, including that of the United States. They don't care how many innocent people die as a result of their accomplishing their goals. Satan is motivating them, as Jesus clearly explained the devil's character as that of a deceiver and murderer. It shouldn't surprise us that the nations within his realm so willingly kill and destroy innocent lives. Jesus is coming very, very soon. What do all these things tell us? They assure us that Jesus is coming very soon. If the prophetic events of Revelation 6 loom so close on the horizon, and they do, how much closer must we be to the rapture of the church that must occur before these things happen? Please don't be dismayed that you remain on the earth longer than you anticipated or would like. Jesus is coming in the very near future. Nothing has changed. Based on the study of God's Word, I am absolutely convinced of these 3 things. 1, we live in the season of the rapture. Jesus is coming for us in the very near future. 2, the rapture must happen before the start of the 7-year tribulation. 3, Jesus will return to earth as a conquering king after the 7-year tribulation and will reign over the nations of the world for 1,000 years from a gloriously restored Israel. The Bible tells us that Jesus will sit on the throne of David. Jesus will not disappoint us. Count on it. He will fulfill his promise in John 14 and take us to the place he's preparing for us. The glory ahead for us is well worth the wait. Keep holding on and looking up in eager anticipation of Christ's appearing. Maranatha.